Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered, where does God come from? How did he exist before the universe was formed? This question has haunted humanity for thousands of years, from prophets and philosophers to modern scientists. Today, we embark on a wondrous journey through religion, philosophy, science, and spiritual experience to explore the mysterious origins of the Creator. The Mesopotamian civilization, the cradle of humanity, flourished between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, where cities like Uruk, and Babylon emerged over 5,000 years ago. The Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians not only built monumental structures but also produced a rich collection of Sumerian mythology, in which the question of the origin of God is ever present. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest literary works in the world, King Gilgamesh embarks on a quest for the secret of immortality. Along the way, he encounters stories of primordial deities who created mankind but were themselves born from other supernatural forces. This raises the question, if gods created humans, who created the gods? Mesopotamians believed the world began from a primordial chaos, an endless ocean called Apsu, freshwater, and Tiamat, saltwater. From this merging, the first gods were born, who then gave rise to the next generation of gods. This belief system was a form of polytheism, yet it carried an early philosophical idea: everything, even divine beings, has an origin. This stands in contrast to monotheistic religions such as Judaism and Christianity, where God is seen as eternal and without beginning. If the Mesopotamian civilization is considered the cradle of writing and the first states, then ancient Egypt stands as a symbol of grandeur, mystery, and profound religious devotion. The Egyptians not only built colossal pyramids and magnificent temples but also left behind a rich system of mythology in which the question, where did God come from, was answered in a unique way. In Egyptian mythology, Ra, the sun god, was regarded as the supreme creator, born from himself on a primeval island rising from the chaotic waters of Nun. Some legends say Ra emerged from Atum, a primordial deity possessing both genders, and from Atum came Osiris, Isis, Seth, and many other gods. This shows that even in ancient religion, the Egyptians sought to explain that gods have an origin, a starting point. This belief reflects an incomplete notion of no beginning, no end. The universe might start with a supreme being, but that being itself arises from another state or entity. The Egyptians also believed in life after death, with the soul's journey through the Duat, underworld, judged by Osiris. This faith drove them to construct enduring tombs to protect the soul on its eternal journey. Ancient Greece was one of the most influential civilizations in shaping human philosophy, science, and religion. In the beginning, the Greeks believed the universe emerged from chaos, a state of primordial disorder. From chaos came primordial gods such as Gaia, Mother Earth, and Uranus, sky, who then gave birth to the next generation of deities, including Cronus, Zeus, and the Olympian gods. Interestingly, the Greeks didn't stop at world mythology but developed philosophical reasoning to answer the question, who created the gods? The philosopher Plato argued that behind all visible forms lies an unchanging world of ideas, and there exists a creator, demiurge, who organizes the universe according to these ideas. Meanwhile, Aristotle introduced the concept of the prime mover, an entity unaffected by any cause, yet itself the cause of all motion and existence in the universe. This was one of the earliest philosophical attempts to reconcile religious belief with logical reasoning. Ancient Rome, heavily influenced by Greece, adopted both its pantheon and its philosophy. However, the Romans were more pragmatic. They saw gods as protective forces for the state, the military, and the family. They rarely asked, where did God come from? In a metaphysical sense, but still embraced Greek philosophy to explain the order of the cosmos. In the history of world religions, ancient India stands out with one of the oldest spiritual and philosophical systems, Hinduism. Unlike many polytheistic religions of the West, Hinduism not only worships multiple deities such as Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma, but also builds a profound philosophical foundation around the concept of Brahman, the absolute, formless, infinite reality, and the source of all existence. The Vedas, 1500 to 500 BCE, and especially the Upanishads posed deep metaphysical questions. If Brahman is the source of the universe, where did Brahman come from? The ancient Indian answer was unlike that of Mesopotamia or Egypt. They believed in the concept of no beginning, no end. Brahman is neither created nor destroyed, existing beyond time and space. All phenomena, including gods like Vishnu or Shiva, are merely manifestations of Brahman. This philosophy also leads to the concept of Atman, the individual soul, which is one with Brahman. Thus, exploring the origin of God is also a journey to understand one's own true nature. This worldview deeply influenced Indian culture, art, and spirituality, creating a religious tradition that is both diverse in form and unified in philosophical essence. Ancient China developed a unique blend of mythology and philosophy, where the question, the origin of God, was reflected in both legends and thought systems. One of the most famous myths is the story of Pangu. The ancients believed the universe was initially in a chaotic state. Like a giant egg, after thousands of years, Pangu emerged, separating heaven and earth to create the world. When he died, his body transformed into mountains, rivers, wind, rain, and all living things. Another legend is that of Nuwa, the goddess who created humanity from clay and repaired the sky after a great flood. Both stories suggest that gods have a starting point and play the role of shaping the world. But they themselves are not eternal as in monotheistic religions. Philosophically, Taoism posed a different question. Did the Tao create God? Or did God create the Tao? In the Tao Te Ching, Laozi wrote, "The Tao gives birth to one. One gives birth to two. Two gives birth to three. And three gives birth to all things." The Tao is the ultimate principle, formless, without beginning or end, giving rise to everything, including gods. This reveals the concept of no beginning, no end in Chinese culture from an early age. Meanwhile, Confucianism did not focus on the metaphysical origin of God, but rather on heaven's mandate, Tianming, and humanity's role in maintaining social order. Here, heaven is seen as a supreme power, but the emphasis is on morality and righteousness rather than on seeking who created heaven. Beyond major centers of civilization such as Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece, or India, many indigenous civilizations around the world developed their own systems of belief and world mythology to explain the origin of God and the universe. The Maya civilization of Central America believed that the universe passed through multiple cycles of creation and destruction. In the Popol Vuh, the sacred book of the Maya, the gods created several generations of humans from mud, wood, and finally maize, corn. Each failed attempt at creation suggests that even gods learned and evolved, implying that deities were not entirely omnipotent and may have had a past before becoming supreme beings. The Aztecs believed in a cycle of 5 suns, each ruled by a supreme god who was eventually destroyed, to be replaced by another deity. This presents a very different image of the supreme god, not a singular, eternal being, but a rotating role within the cosmos. In North America, many indigenous tribes believed in the Great Spirit, an overarching creative force that pervades all things. The Great Spirit was not necessarily God, in a personal sense, but rather the creative principle that sustains natural order. In Africa, many traditional belief systems tell of a supreme God who created the world and then withdrew, leaving humans and other spirits to manage it. Some stories say this deity once lived close to humanity but, due to a particular event, moved away, creating a distance between the divine and mankind. These beliefs show that the question, who created God, was often approached not only through philosophy but also through cycles of nature, oral history, and observation of life. As civilizations interacted through war, trade, and migration, a new belief system emerged, monotheism. Among these, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam became the 3 most influential religions. All 3 affirm that the eternal God has no beginning and no end. In Judaism, God, Yahweh, is considered the self-existent one, existing by himself. Uncreated, Christianity retains this concept and develops the doctrine of the Trinity. Islam calls God Allah, the Almighty Creator, who begets none and is begotten by none, as affirmed in the Quran, Surah Al-Ikhlas. However, The question, if God created everything, who created God, continued to be asked, especially during the scholastic period in Europe. Theologian Thomas Aquinas proposed the 5 ways to prove God's existence, including the argument of the first cause, prime mover, an entity uncreated yet the cause of all else. Unlike polytheistic religions such as those of Greece or Mesopotamia, monotheistic religions view God not only as the creator but also as the absolute source of morality, the standard of truth and justice. Thus, in this context, the question of the origin of God is often answered in metaphysical terms. God is the foundation of reality, outside the chain of cause and effect as we know it. The question, where did God come from, is both religious and scientific because it demands both faith and reason. Religion answers with the eternal God, without beginning or end. Science searches for causes through the Big Bang and cosmology. Whatever the answer, the greatest value lies in the journey of seeking, a journey that has shaped the history of religion, ancient philosophy, and science for thousands of years. In the Bible, particularly in the book of Revelation, the statement by Jesus Christ, "I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last," is one of the most powerful affirmations about the existence of God. Alpha and Omega are the first and last letters of the Greek alphabet, symbolizing eternal time and the complete sovereignty of God over human history. This statement not only declares that God is the origin of God, self-existent, and the absolute truth, but also implies that he transcends all limits of time and space. In theological terms, this is a proclamation of the no beginning, no end nature, meaning without origin and without conclusion. When God says, "the first and the last," he is declaring that everything begins with him and will end in him. This ties directly into concepts in monotheistic religions such as Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, where the eternal God is the one supreme being, uncreated, making the question who created God meaningless within this system. From the perspective of the philosophy of religion, the phrase, Alpha and Omega, parallels the first cause doctrine of Thomas Aquinas and Aristotle's idea of an unmoved mover. These are intellectual efforts to explain the concept of God not only through faith but also through logical reasoning. Interestingly, when reading this in the Bible, many people feel its spiritual and religious faith dimension, while scholars and scientists see it as a philosophical declaration about the origin of the universe and the meaning of time. This shows how the topic is both religious and scientific, acting as a bridge between religion and science. In the Quran, the most sacred book of Islam, there is a short yet profoundly meaningful verse. Allah is the Eternal. He neither begets nor is he begotten. This statement appears in Surah Al-Ikhlas, a short chapter of only 4 verses. Yet it is considered the essence of Islamic teachings. For Muslims, it is not merely a declaration of religious faith, but the foundation of monotheism, affirming that there is only one creator, unrestricted by time or space. When Prophet Muhammad received divine revelation from Allah through the angel Jibril, this message was not only for the Arabs of the 7th century Arabian Peninsula but for all of humanity. In a world then dominated by polytheistic beliefs, proclaiming that Allah neither begets nor is he begotten was a revolution in the concept of God and the Islamic worldview. It dismantled every anthropomorphic image of God, emphasizing that the nature of Allah is absolute truth, eternal, and beyond the limits of biological or physical laws. This verse also serves as a definitive answer to the age-old question in philosophy of religion: if God created everything, who created God? Islam asserts that Allah exists outside the chain of causality in the universe. He is the existence of God before all ages, and the omnipotence of Allah transcends all eras. In the context of the Vedas, including the Rigveda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, and Atharvaveda, the concept of Brahman is not merely a deity, but the supreme origin of all existence. Brahman is seen as the absolute, beyond all limitations of time, space, and causation. In the Upanishads, especially the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and Chandogya Upanishad, Brahman is described as the one reality from which everything is born, by which everything exists, and into which everything returns. A unique aspect of Brahman in Vedanta philosophy is that it is formless, unborn, and imperishable. Brahman is not bound by Maya yet is the source of Lila, upholding Dharma, and guiding every jiva toward moksha from samsara. The rishis of the Vedas, through tapas, yajna, mantra chanting, and meditation, directly experienced Brahman, an experience beyond ordinary intellect. Brahman can be understood in two aspects. Nirguna Brahman, the formless, attributeless Brahman, entirely beyond description. Saguna Brahman, Brahman with attributes, manifested as Ishvara, the personal God, so that humans can relate to and worship through puja, ritual worship, and arati, light ceremony. Ancient Greek philosophy has always sought answers to fundamental questions about the origin of the universe, the nature of existence, and the meaning of life. Among the great philosophers, Aristotle, 384–322 BCE, stands out with his doctrine of the first cause, or the unmoved mover. This is one of the most important contributions to philosophical theology, laying the foundation for the idea of God as the ultimate cause. Before Aristotle, philosophers such as Plato, Parmenides, and Heraclitus debated the change, motion, and eternity of the universe. Aristotle developed his concept to address a fundamental problem: if every motion requires a cause, does this chain of causes have a beginning? Aristotle argued that everything in the world undergoes change, motion, or coming into being from a cause. However, if we keep tracing this cause backward, we encounter an infinite regress, which Aristotle considered illogical. Therefore, there must exist a first cause, a self-existent, unaffected, and unmoved entity. Aristotle described the first cause with the following attributes: eternal, without beginning or end; unchanging, unaffected by time; perfect, without imperfection; self-actualizing, the cause of itself; source of all motion. All movement originates from its existence. Although Aristotle did not use the term God in the monotheistic religious sense, the first cause was later identified by philosophers and theologians, especially Thomas Aquinas, with God. In his 5 Ways, Aquinas used Aristotle's reasoning to prove the existence of God as the creator, eternal being, and omnipotent one. Aristotle's first cause is a cornerstone in the philosophy of the origin of God. Opening a long-standing dialogue between philosophy and religion, it challenges the intellect while inspiring faith, creating a bridge between reason and belief. Thomas Aquinas. The 5 Ways to Prove the Existence of God. Thomas Aquinas, 1225–1274, was a medieval philosopher and theologian of the Dominican order, renowned for his work Summa Theologica. In this work, he presented the 5 Ways, philosophical arguments aimed at proving the existence of God. Aquinas' reasoning was heavily influenced by Aristotle, particularly the concepts of the first cause and the unmoved mover. First way. Argument from motion. Aquinas argued that everything in motion must be set in motion by something else. There cannot be an infinite regress of movers, therefore, there must be an unmoved mover, God. Second way. Argument from efficient cause. Everything that exists has a cause. There cannot be an infinite chain of causes. Therefore, there must be a first cause, the cause of all other causes, God. Third way. Argument from contingency. All things can either exist or not exist, contingent beings. If everything were contingent, there would have been a time when nothing existed. If nothing existed, nothing could have come into existence. Therefore, there must be a necessary being, God. Fourth way. Argument from degrees of perfection. Aquinas noted that things vary in degrees of goodness, truth, and beauty. These degrees imply the existence of a maximum, a standard against which all else is measured. This maximally perfect being is the source of all perfections, God. Fifth way. Argument from teleology. The universe operates with order and purpose. Even non-intelligent objects like planets or atoms follow laws. This suggests the presence of an intelligent designer, God. Aquinas' 5 Ways unite Aristotelian logic with Christian faith, forming a bridge between philosophy and theology. These arguments strengthen faith while providing a rational foundation for religion. Kant. The limits of reason in understanding God. Immanuel Kant, 1724–1804, was a German philosopher, widely regarded as one of the greatest thinkers in Western philosophy. His most famous work, Critique of Pure Reason, fundamentally reshaped the way humans understand epistemology and metaphysics. Kant lived during the Enlightenment, an era where science, philosophy, and religion coexisted in tension. One of his central concerns was, can human reason prove and comprehend God? Divine being, supreme cause. Kant called his system critical philosophy, aiming to analyze the capabilities and limitations of pure reason. He argued that humans can only know the world of phenomena, what appears in sensory experience, but cannot directly know the noumena, the ultimate reality of things. This includes God. According to Kant, God is a pure idea of reason, which cannot be empirically verified or sensed. In Kant's philosophy, God is not defined as a scientific object but as a metaphysical hypothesis necessary to explain the moral order and the cosmic meaning of existence. Kant distinguished between knowing and believing. He famously stated, "I had to deny knowledge in order to make room for faith." This means reason cannot prove God's existence, yet faith remains morally justified. Kant identified three main limitations. No direct observation. God does not exist within space and time, so he cannot be an object of the senses. No scientific verification. All scientific knowledge is based on observation and experimentation. Whereas God is transcendent. Internal contradictions in reasoning. When reason tries to prove God, it encounters antinomies or paradoxes, for example, the need for a first cause, while also explaining no beginning. Kant's view does not deny God but places him within the realm of moral faith, separate from empirical science. This reduces conflict between religion and science. As each domain has its own scope, science explains the natural world, while religion addresses meaning and value. Kant also introduced free will as a necessary condition for morality and faith to be meaningful. Kant's idea of the limits of reason encourages humility in humanity's search for God. He neither abolishes religion nor lets science dominate the entire truth. Instead, he emphasizes the balance between reason and faith, between knowledge and morality. This remains highly relevant today, as debates over God, science, and religion continue. Science and the universe in the concept of where God comes from. The Big Bang Theory is one of the most significant concepts in modern cosmology, explaining the origin and formation of the universe from an extremely hot and dense state known as a singularity. According to this theory, about 13.8 billion years ago, all matter, energy, space, and time were compressed into a single point. Then, a powerful expansion event occurred, called the Big Bang, marking the beginning of cosmic evolution. What makes the Big Bang Theory compelling is that it is not merely speculation. It is supported by multiple pieces of observational evidence such as the cosmic microwave background, CMB, the redshift of galaxies, and the predicted light elements abundance from early nucleosynthesis. These discoveries have made the Big Bang the most widely accepted explanation for the origin of the universe. In terms of physics, the Big Bang Theory integrates essential principles such as Einstein's general relativity, which describes how space-time is curved by mass and energy, and quantum mechanics, which explains the behavior of fundamental particles on extremely small scales. This combination allows scientists to simulate the earliest moments of the universe, from the Planck time to the formation of the first atoms. However, the Big Bang Theory does not explain what happened before the Big Bang. This is one of the greatest open questions in science. Could there be a multiverse? Did time begin at the Big Bang? Or has it existed infinitely into the past? These questions bridge science with philosophy and religion, as they touch upon the very nature of existence and creation. After the Big Bang event, the universe went through a series of extremely rapid and complex stages. Planck epoch, from 0 to 10⁻⁴310 -43, 10⁻43 seconds. This is when gravity and other fundamental forces had not yet separated. Both quantum mechanics and general relativity must be unified in a quantum gravity theory, something modern science still struggles to achieve. Grand unification epoch. The strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, and electromagnetism existed as a single unified force. Matter and antimatter emerged but remained in an extremely high energy state. Cosmic inflation. From about 10⁻3610 minus 36, 10 minus 36 to 10 minus 3210 carat, minus 32, 10 minus 32 seconds. The universe underwent a rapid expansion, increasing its size by billions of times. This stage explains the homogeneity and isotropy observed in today's universe. Plasma era and cosmic microwave background, CMB, 380.000 years after the Big Bang. The universe cooled enough for protons and electrons to combine into hydrogen and helium atoms. Light separated from matter, producing the cosmic microwave background radiation still observable today. Star and galaxy formation, hundreds of millions of years after the Big Bang. Gravity pulled cosmic gas and dust together to form stars, galaxies, and eventually planetary systems. Although the Big Bang accurately describes the universe's evolution from 10⁻⁴310 carat, minus 43, 10⁻⁴3 seconds onward, it does not answer the question, what happened before that? Some notable hypotheses include cyclic universe. The universe undergoes infinite cycles of expansion and contraction, with each collapse, Big Crunch, leading to a new Big Bang. Quantum fluctuation origin. The universe could arise from quantum fluctuations within a quantum vacuum. Multiverse theory. Our Big Bang is just one bubble among countless other universes. No boundary proposal by Stephen Hawking. Time has no absolute starting point. Similar to Earth's surface, there is no edge where everything begins. The Big Bang raises profound questions not only for physics and astronomy, but also for philosophy and theology. Ancient Greek philosophy, with Aristotle, proposed the first cause, an unmoved mover that set everything in motion. In a sense, the Big Bang could be seen as the physical manifestation of a first cause. Christian theology views the Big Bang as evidence that the universe had a beginning. Consistent with the Genesis creation story, Buddhism does not emphasize an absolute beginning but sees the universe as an endless process of causality and dependent origination. Modern science takes an empirical stance, drawing conclusions only from observational evidence. Thus, the Big Bang becomes a meeting point between three domains. 1. Science, grounded in experiments and mathematical models. 2. Philosophy, seeking the meaning of existence. 3. Religion, searching for the origin and purpose of the universe. Multiverse theory and the hypothesis, God is the universal programmer. The concept of the multiverse is one of the most bold and fascinating ideas in physics and cosmology. Instead of there being only a single universe as we once believed, this theory proposes the existence of multiple parallel universes, each potentially having its own space, time, matter, energy, and cosmological constant. In certain scenarios, these universes may interact through black holes, wormholes, or higher spatial dimensions, higher dimension. This concept challenges traditional views of the Big Bang theory and what might have existed before the Big Bang, while also opening profound philosophical and religious debates on universe creation, consciousness, and the role of a creator. Physicists have proposed several multiverse models based on quantum mechanics, string theory, and digital physics. Some of the most notable include 1. Level 1 multiverse, arising from cosmic inflation theory, suggesting that infinite space contains regions of parallel universes with different cosmological constants. 2. Quantum multiverse, according to the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Every quantum event causes the universe to branch into multiple realities. 3. String theory multiverse, involving brane worlds and higher dimensions, allowing universes to collide and generate new Big Bangs. 4. Simulation multiverse, where each universe is a program run by a programmer, possibly an artificial intelligence or an advanced civilization. The hypothesis of God as the cosmic programmer is based on simulation theory, suggesting that our entire reality may be a simulation running on a massive quantum computer. In this framework, God or the creator is the programmer who wrote the code, set the algorithms, and fine-tuned the physical constants so that life and consciousness could emerge. This concept relates to intelligent design, information theory, and cosmic architecture. It also raises questions. If the universe is merely a virtual reality, what exists beyond it, and could it be possible to hack or escape the simulation? Both the multiverse theory and the cosmic programmer hypothesis belong not only to physics but also touch upon metaphysics, philosophy of mind, and theology. Science provides models like quantum field theory, relativity, and cosmogenesis to explain the origin of the universe. Philosophy asks about the nature of reality and the limits of human reason. Religion seeks the ultimate purpose of existence, often through the image of a creator. This intersection fosters profound theological debate and philosophical implications. If God is a programmer, then faith and scientific evidence could complement each other rather than conflict. Although both the multiverse and the simulated universe remain unverified hypotheses, they open profound avenues for exploring the origin, structure, and meaning of the cosmos. Open questions include: if infinite universes exist, how many copies of our consciousness are there? If the universe is a simulation, could there be a doomsday when the program ends? If the creator is a programmer, is he monitoring or modifying the source code of the universe? These questions belong not only to science but also to faith, philosophy, and the human spirit of exploration. Near-death experiences and the feeling of encountering God. Story 1: Don Piper and 90 Minutes in Heaven. Circumstances. On January 18, 1989, Pastor Don Piper, USA, was driving back from a conference when his car was hit head-on by a truck. Paramedics confirmed that he had died at the scene within minutes. His body was covered with a sheet while waiting for the ambulance. Experience and feelings. Don recounted that right after losing consciousness, he saw himself entering a radiant golden gate, with melodious music and an atmosphere filled with love. He met deceased relatives and felt an unprecedented peace. He said there was a presence at the center, which he firmly believed to be God. But before he could get closer, he was suddenly pulled back. Result: after coming back to life. About 90 minutes after the accident, another pastor prayed beside the vehicle, and Don suddenly began to breathe again. It took him more than a year to recover, but he devoted the rest of his life to sharing this experience, writing the book 90 Minutes in Heaven, which became a bestseller in the United States. Story 2: Colton Burpo and the Boy Who Saw Heaven. Circumstances. In 2003, 4-year-old Colton Burpo had to undergo emergency surgery due to a ruptured appendix. While under anesthesia, he entered a near-death state. Experience and feelings. Colton recounted that he flew up to heaven, where he met a man he recognized as Jesus, along with angels singing. He also encountered a little girl who told him she was his sister, something that stunned his parents, as they had never told him about a miscarriage that happened before he was born. Result: after coming back to life, the surgery was successful. What Colton described convinced his family that he had truly experienced heaven. His story was recorded in the book Heaven is for Real, which was later adapted into a film in 2014. Story 3: Anita Moorjani and Return from the Brink of Death. Circumstances. In 2006, Anita Moorjani, of Indian origin, living in Hong Kong, was in the final stage of lymphoma. Her body was completely debilitated. She fell into a deep coma, and doctors informed her family she had only a few hours left to live. Experience and feelings. Anita recounted that her soul left her body and observed her family and doctors from outside. She felt enveloped by unconditional love. She encountered a light that she believed to be the divine. In a wordless dialogue, she came to understand that she still had the choice to return. And if she did, her illness would heal on its own. Result: after coming back to life, Anita regained consciousness after only 30 hours in a coma. Just a few weeks later, all her tumors disappeared completely, shocking the medical community. Her story was later told in the book Dying to Be Me and in her famous TED Talks. Meditation, prayer, and deep contemplation, the path to connecting with the Supreme Being. Throughout human history, from east to west, humanity has sought spiritual connection, an invisible thread that links them to the Supreme Being, whether called God, Allah, Brahman, or the Dharmakaya. Religious and philosophical traditions have developed various methods to achieve this state, among which meditation, prayer, and deep contemplation are the most common paths. Meditation, prayer, and deep contemplation, the path to connecting with the Supreme Being. Throughout human history, from east to west, humanity has sought spiritual connection, an invisible thread that links them to the Supreme Being, whether called God, Allah, Brahman, or the Dharmakaya. Religious and philosophical traditions have developed various methods to achieve this state, among which meditation, prayer, and deep contemplation are the most common paths. Prayer, dialogue with the Supreme Being. Prayer is the act of directly communicating with the Creator through spoken words or silent contemplation. In Christianity, prayer can be an expression of gratitude, a request for forgiveness, or a plea for guidance. In Islam, salat is performed 5 times a day as a sacred discipline. Deep contemplation, the state of union with the universe. Deep contemplation or samadhi is the deepest stage of meditation, when the mind and the object of meditation become one. In yoga and the Vedic scriptures, this is the state of union with Brahman, the ultimate source. Modern science has shown that meditation and prayer help reduce stress, improve cardiovascular health, and enhance concentration. Neuroscience studies reveal that during deep meditation, the brain areas related to self-awareness decrease activity, creating a sense of unity with the universe. In the philosophy of religion, meditation, prayer, and deep contemplation are means to reach the ultimate truth. They are not merely rituals but direct experiential paths to the presence of the Supreme Being. Throughout the history of science, many of the greatest minds have also been people of deep faith in God. This challenges the notion that science and religion are always in conflict. From Isaac Newton, Galileo Galilei, Albert Einstein, to modern scientists like Francis Collins and John Polkinghorne, they have demonstrated that discovering the laws of nature does not eliminate, but rather strengthens, belief in a creator. Isaac Newton, physicist and theologian. Isaac Newton, 1643–1727, is considered the father of classical mechanics. But few know that he wrote more theological works than scientific ones. Newton believed that physical laws like the law of gravitation and the laws of motion were evidence of a supreme intelligence. He once said, "The most beautiful system of the sun, planets, and comets could only proceed from the counsel and dominion of an intelligent and powerful being." Galileo Galilei, Science and Faith. Galileo Galilei, 1564–1642, the Italian astronomer, is famous for defending Copernicus' heliocentric theory. Although tried by the Church, Galileo maintained his belief in God, stating that both the Bible and the Book of Nature come from the same author, God. He asserted, "Science tells us how the heavens go. The Bible tells us how to go to heaven." Albert Einstein, The Universe and the Mind of God. Albert Einstein, 1879–1955, is often misunderstood as an atheist. But he actually believed in a creator of the universe in a philosophical sense. He famously said, "I want to know God's thoughts, the rest are details." Einstein viewed the mathematical harmony of the universe as the signature of a transcendent intelligence. Francis Collins, The Human Genome Map and Christian Faith. Francis Collins, director of the Human Genome Project, was once an atheist. However, studying the complexity of DNA led him to believe in Jesus Christ. Collins wrote, The Language of God, to share his journey of faith. John Polkinghorne, From Quantum Physics to Theology. John Polkinghorne, an English quantum physicist, left his scientific career to become a priest. He believed that quantum physics and theology both seek truth, and that there is no conflict between them when rightly understood. Scientists who believe in God do not see religion as the enemy of science. They believe that the universe, natural laws, consciousness, and life are all evidence of a supreme origin. The faith of these scientists shows that science and religion can complement each other. Scientific discoveries do not diminish faith but help people understand more deeply the meaning of existence and the Creator. Throughout the journey we've taken, from the Bible, the Quran, the Vedas, the teachings of the Buddha, to the philosophies of Aristotle, Thomas Aquinas, Kant, and finally to the Big Bang Theory, the multiverse, and the God as the cosmic programmer hypothesis, we have approached the question, where does God come from multiple perspectives: religion, philosophy, and science. Each perspective does not cancel the others, instead, they form pieces of a vast puzzle. From faith to reason, from spiritual experience to cosmological models, all point toward a profound truth. God, or the Supreme Being, is not bound by time. space, or matter. When science investigates the origins of the universe, we find religious questions echoing in the foundations of physical laws. When religion speaks of the Eternal One, science searches for the singularity before the Big Bang, a point where time and space dissolve. Religion gives us meaning, while science gives us method. Together, they open a more holistic vision of God, creation, and human existence. Whether you believe God is the creator, the cosmic energy source, or simply a philosophical concept, this search is not just about satisfying the intellect. It is also an inner journey, where we listen, feel, and connect with a reality beyond the small self. If you've stayed with me until now, I believe the question, where does God come from, has become more than a question. It has become an invitation to reflect more deeply, live more mindfully, and connect more profoundly with the universe and with yourself. If you find this journey meaningful, please click like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video so that more people can join us in the exploration. We will continue diving into fascinating topics about religion, science, philosophy, and the mysteries of the cosmos.